everybody, how are you doing? I hope you're having a great day so far and welcome to a new video, in which this case I bring you my full review on the Knuckles series on Paramount Plus that just released today, and oh my gosh, I have a lot to talk about in this video. Like, I really enjoyed the Knuckles series, but I really want to talk about a lot of the series in this video. So the first thing I want to say is a quick clarification in case you're new to these review videos. Number one, I am no movie critic, I'm just a normal guy sharing his thoughts on something that he just watched or played if it's a video game review. And number two is that there's gonna be spoilers in this video, like in every single time I'm gonna say it. Spoilers everywhere, like spoilers a lot of time, like editor, put like 5 pictures of spoiler everywhere, like seriously. I have to say that a couple of times, so if you haven't seen the series, I'd suggest you watch it and then come back so you can hear my full review on this series. Or if you watched it and you want to hear what I think, then feel free to stay and watch the whole thing. With that said, let's get started. So, wait, hold on a second. Where do I start? Okay, now in all seriousness, let's talk about the first thing that I want to say, and that is Knuckles and Wade as a duo. And I have to say, just like Sonic and Tom, I think Knuckles and Wade pretty much build a pretty good duo. Like, I like the whole sequence that they go through, like all the training, all of that journey into the end, from episode 1 all the way to episode 6. Like, the whole amount of training that Knuckles does with Wade, like trying to make him stronger so that he can so that Wade can be successful in his bowling tournament, and also to become stronger to break free from the ones that tried to capture him at some point. Because at some point, Wade basically becomes a fugitive after trying to save Knuckles after being kidnapped by a couple of bad guys, which I will talk about them later on. And after that, he becomes a fugitive, and when he's captured, after help from a new character, which, surprise, it's Pachamako, or I hope I said the name right. Anyways, he gets a bit of help from him, and after a quick motivation from Pachamako, I think it was a pretty good sequence with the Flames of Disaster, which, by the way, I can't be the only one that once they heard the words Flames of Disaster immediately thought of Sonic 06. Come on, I can't be the only one that thought about that. And overall, once Wade and Knuckles start working more together, and I would easily put it with Sonic and Tom, like those two were a really good duo. Now, I want to talk about a little bit about Idris Elba with Knuckles. Like, in the second movie I was like, wow, this is a pretty good voice for Knuckles. But here in this series, it's like, we managed to see more of what he can do, and it's like, I feel like he was the best choice for Knuckles, like seriously. Idris Elba as the voice actor for Knuckles was seriously like a straight 10 out of 10. Like, in Sonic Movie 2 he was already great, but here he kicked it up to another notch. Now as for the humor, I think this series is pretty fun. Like, it has a lot of fun parts, like there were a lot of parts where I laughed. Like, seriously. Just like in the other Sonic movies, the humor in this movie is really good. Like, I really laughed quite a couple of times. And as it goes through all of the episodes, I think there were parts that you're gonna laugh and parts where you're gonna get excited. Like, this series has a lot to offer. Now, one thing I wanna mention is Sonic, Tails, and Maddie and Tom in the first episode, because like, they only appear in the first episode and that's it. But like, one thing I will say, even though they only appear in the first episode and that's it, but in my opinion, that's alright, because let's remember, this is the Knuckles series, focused to be specifically on Knuckles. And even though Sonic and Tails and Maddie don't do that much, like obviously they only appear in the first episode to like, Sonic gives him some motivation to Knuckles, tells him to settle on his home. But Knuckles is like, I have no home, I'm only here because I made a vow to you and the Fonz. But still, it's like, Sonic tries to give him that word of motivation to like find a way to make himself home. And then Tails is pretty much over there to be the best buddy of the group. But either way, even though they don't do that much, either way, I still like that they made an appearance, and that at least Tails had a couple of voice lines. Like, they didn't make him speechless like in those clips we saw on YouTube. Alright, I want to talk about some of the side characters that we meet here, which is Wade's mom, her sister Wanda, even Jack the freaking bounty hunter. Like, seriously, I feel like I like these characters. Like, honestly, I think they were honestly pretty alright. Like, honestly, I didn't mind too much the human characters in the movies. And honestly, I think they made it pretty good here. Like, the series takes its time to develop the characters, and honestly, if you did not mind the human characters in the movies, then you're probably gonna like them here. But then again, there are the people who actually don't like them too much, so it's like, if you like them, that's pretty good. If you don't, it's alright. But I think I enjoyed most of them. Alright, one little sidestep for the villains. One small section for the villains, which were people who originally worked for Gunn, but then one of them, being the woman, actually felt betrayed by Gunn and actually works for the big villain, the bounty hunter that actually shows up. I forgot his name. I think they were honestly pretty good. Like, they give Knuckles a big challenge. I also like the action sequences. Like, they give Knuckles a pretty good challenge in trying to capture him. And even though he loses once, Knuckles doesn't lose twice. But, like I said, they gave a pretty good challenge, especially that big Rhino dude. Like, the big guy actually made it tough for Knuckles. But then after a pretty good speech from Wade, similar to what Tom did in Sonic 1, and after that speech, Knuckles wakes up with the flames of testosterone and he absolutely cooks the guy. And honestly, like I said, villains were pretty good, honestly, and there were some parts where I said, man, that's pretty hardcore. But anyways, and the action scenes honestly felt pretty good. Maybe a little bit too short. They felt good, but honestly, I feel like they were somewhat a little bit short. Like, in the second Sonic movie, the fight between Sonic and Knuckles is also short, but it's like, in here, it felt like the final fight of Sonic movie 2, but hey, I'm not gonna complain. The action scenes were a 10 out of 10. And also, one thing I want to mention, the fact that we see Knuckles use things that he did not use in the second movie, like going underground, gliding. Like, when I watched the second movie, I was like, wait, why did he not do some of his other abilities, like glide or go underground? And now over here, we actually saw that, and I'm actually really happy that they did not forget about that, because like, I was like, those are some of Knuckles' abilities, and they forgot that, but I'm really happy that we finally got to see it here. And with that, we have reached the final thoughts of the series. So, the Knuckles series is in my opinion, a pretty enjoyable series and really fun. It promises a lot of fun, and the action scenes were really great. The villains were also pretty good, and the side characters were also pretty good in my opinion. Like, honestly, I didn't see too much of a problem with them. It is true that some of the episodes you're like, there's not much of Knuckles screen time, or you're wondering like, what am I looking at? But still, it's like I said, this series pretty much takes its time to develop some of the characters. Like I said, it takes its time, but when it gets good, it gets good. So my final score will probably be like a 8.5 out of 10. Like, I found it pretty enjoyable, pretty fun. And also, one thing I also want to mention is that it is true that I've seen people like complain that Wade has some more screen time than Knuckles. Knuckles barely has any screen time, and that the show itself is called Knuckles, and yet he's barely present. And it is true that Knuckles does shine when he shows up, but other than that, when Wade shows up, it's like some people like doesn't really like it that much. Like I said, I really don't mind it with the human characters, but it is true that I agree that Knuckles should have had more screen time, because whenever he showed up, that was a straight great time with him. And overall, I think my final score is going to change, and it's going to go to 8 out of 10. Great Easter eggs as well, which I forgot to mention. Great Easter eggs that you might catch up. And honestly, with a lot of fun promised. Now, do I recommend this series? Honestly, I do. It was really fun, great humor, with great action scenes, and overall, a really enjoyable experience to watch with family on a Saturday night. But nevertheless, that's it for today. thank you all for coming and watching. I really hope you enjoyed my review on the Knuckles series. Like I said, a pretty joyful series with a lot of fun, lots of action and Easter eggs that I personally do recommend. And if you did enjoy today's video, then I would really appreciate if you drop a like and subscribe, since it really helps a lot for the channel and me as well. So thank you all so much for that. And remember to comment down below your thoughts on the series, because I know there's a lot of people with mixed thoughts and I would like to read yours down below. So if you have seen this series, then make sure to comment down below, because I would like to hear your opinion. And boy, I can't wait for Sonic Movie 3. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.